my gospel for many long years. Go down to Damascus, the street that's called straight. You'll meet Ananias. There you must wait. I counted on Adam, I counted on Cain, I counted on Jonah, but he was the same. I counted on Judas, but he proved untrue. So go tell the world, Paul, I'm counting on you. 3 days have gone by, still I can't see. Here's Ananias, he's talking. He said, Brother Paul, Lord in the sky has sent me to heal you. So you're right. I'll send you the Gentiles, and I'll send you to Rome. You'll face many trials till I call you home. You'll sleep on the desert, you'll be wrecked by the sea. Oh, but keep right on preaching this gospel. I counted on Adam, I counted on Cain, I counted on Jonah, but he was the same. I counted on Judas, but he proved untrue. So go tell the world, Paul, I'm counting on you. So go tell the world, Paul, I'm counting on you.
And the last verse, Daddy, we sang.
I don't know that one.
Give me a D. Many years have gone by, Lord, and still I've been true.
Bless your heart.
But now I must leave this great field for you. I've finished my course, Lord. I've taught in your name, and I'm sure there are others who will do the same.
I counted on Adam, I counted on Cain, I counted on Jonah, but he was the same. I counted on Judas, but he proved untrue. So go tell the world, Paul, I'm counting on you. So go tell the world, Paul, I'm counting on you. Yeah, man, he was able to say, I have finished the race, I've fought the fight, I've kept the faith.
That's what he said.
Zack, tell us a little bit. I was thinking there about Paul when you were singing. You remember about when he built the fire?
Oh man. Yeah, he came on. They were shipwrecked there on the island of Malta, and every one of them on that prison ship made it into shore because they'd listened. God had revealed to Paul that if they abided in the ship, they would all be saved.
Abide in the ship.
They make it to shore, and the people there on the island come to the rescue and start pulling people out of the water, and they build a big fire to keep them warm. And Paul's pitching in. He grabs a snake, grabs a piece of wood, and it's got a snake on it. And you know how reptiles do; they lay dormant when they're cold. When they get hot, they come back to life. Latches onto him, and the people, in that culture and in that time, they viewed the forces of nature as divine methods of divine punishment. So when, it probably blew their mind to see a prison ship full of convicted men spared from the waves of the sea. But then, Paul gets bitten by this snake, and they go, well, see there, he might have escaped the sea, but the gods were going to give to him what was coming to him. And then when they see that he doesn't swell up and die from the bite of a poisonous snake, I mean, it was hanging on. This wasn't no false strike. They said, well, he must be a god. And we don't find out anything much about Paul on the island of Malta other than that he heals the mother. Is it the mother or the mother-in-law of one of the mother of one of the leaders there?
It was the father.
The father. That's right. It was the father.
Chief.
But we don't find out much more about it. But he evidently did some preaching, because Malta later becomes the first Christian nation in the entire world. And I can't help but, knowing what I know about Paul and how he always told his testimony, I have to think that at some point he said, folks, I heard about what you said about me, wondering whether I was a murderer, and then you thought I was a god. You were a lot closer at first than you were at last. He no doubt told him how he persecuted the church and how he murdered people for the very faith that he was now espousing. He said, oh, I ain't a god, but I met one. Yeah. On the road to Damascus that day. That song is so, God did count. Put a lot of responsibility and a lot of weight on Paul's shoulders. But man, if that don't prove it, God can just use anybody. Yeah. Took the persecutor, the biggest enemy that the church ever had, and turned it into somebody that wrote the bulk of the New Testament and developed, so much of our theology we still hold today, and spread the church more than anybody else. Used a murderer and a blasphemer to do it. That's just like God.